Hi, Leigh here from Cariad, Leigh the Drum. So I got a question for you, and I'm going to tell you my story as well. When did you have your first drum kit? And what make was it? What model? You know, when, how old was you? Roughly when? Was this 10 years ago, 5, 50 years ago? Put your comments below, give us a little thumbs up and a like, etc. to help the videos. But chuck your comments down. Any information that you have about your very first drum kit. I'll tell you a little bit about mine. I was a young lad and I wasn't able, through my parents, to have a drum kit. But I don't know how, I don't know where, but I always just had this fascination, as most of you probably did, with drums. If I saw a live drum kit or a live drummer, I was just bowled over and fascinated by it. I don't know, my grandmother would always say that I was always hitting pots and pans. I don't know if that's the case, but I just know that any time I saw a drum kit like this, I just couldn't take my eyes off them. Even though now we own a drum shop and we got loads of drums here and we trade in, day out. If I go anywhere else and I see a drum kit in another shop, I've got to go in and look at it. It's funny, it's just that attraction to it. So I probably was about 14 years of age. I was earning some money through a paper round up to about that age, and then I went into delivering milk in the mornings as a young lad. So I saved up money. I don't think it's something my father ever encouraged me to do or would have ever paid for, as in the way of lessons or anything like that. So I just saved up my money. I remember going to a place called Cardiff, which is in South Wales, where we live. It's our capital city in Wales. And there's a few music shops there at the time. So I went into the one, went up the stairs, and as I was walking up the stairs, in a cage or a mesh panel, there was a black drum kit there. It wasn't a very pretty kit. It looked like it was a bit bruised and battered, but it was a drum kit. I think it was something like £40 or £30, £50 maybe at the tops. But it was something I could afford. It was my first drum kit that I thought, there it is, and I fell in love with it, even though it was a bit of an old banger of a drum kit. I just thought, that is it, I got to do it. So I went and paid for it. But at that age, I would have had to catch a train back and forth to Cardiff. So I jumped on the train, went home, went in, told my parents excitedly, I've bought a drum kit. And my father was none too pleased, to say the least. So what he then did is to phone the shop up, tell them off for taking money from a young lad, and that they had to refund me. So I had to go back and get my money. I may have even paid via a card, but it might have been cash. But anyway, I had to go back and get my money. So it was one of them hate you dad moments, you know, where I was so disappointed in it. So I couldn't play drums. I was 14. I knew of people who had a drum kit, and I just had a fascination. I just wanted to get to their house so I could see the drums. I couldn't play. I never had lessons or anything like that. And then I started work. And I started work doing welding and fabrication. And within that, I was always nagging my parents to have a drum kit. My father said, you've got to have a trade. And he was right in that. So I went and had this trade. I started and I saved up money. Now, one of the people within the factory that I was working owned a van, and he was a guitar player. And he said he wanted to form a band. And I said, I'd love to be in a band. But he said, but you haven't got a drum kit. I said, I know, but I got some money saved up. And then we were driving in his van in a place called Neath in South Wales, and there was a Neath music store. And in the corner there was a brand new Tama, little white Tama swing star kit. Not the greatest of kits again, but I just fell in love again. It was a white drum kit in the window. So I went in there and I did the same again. I paid for it without telling my parents. But this time, instead of having to go home to ask my father to see if he'll come and pick the kit up, this time I walked straight in, paid for it, loaded it in the van. We chucked it all in the van and away we went. And I put the snare drum on my lap. And I always remember this chap called Keith said, so can you play anything then? So I stuck the snare drum on my lap. There he was driving this van, and I was giving this snare drum some stick, and I couldn't play. but I just had a go. And I always remember pulling up at the traffic lights, and I'm doing this with the snare drum in the van, and then people waiting to cross the road, just looking at me stupid of what was I doing with a drum in the van. So I took it home anyway. My father, again, was none too pleased, but I would have been 17 at this point. This time, my mother, turned around and said to my dad, for goodness sake, let him have a go at it. See how it goes. And then he said, it'll be a white elephant. You're not going to play it. You're not going to do it. But I set it up in my bedroom, and I drove my parents nuts because I played it every single day. Within a couple of months, I was with a few lads, this one in particular who drove the van. We were pretty rubbish, but within, I think actually would have been weeks, just got in there and started to play music. I wasn't able to read or anything, but I just played. I just played what I could hear through the records I was listening to. That's right, that was a few weeks, and then in a few months that had developed that we started to play little sort of rock and roll band in all the dance halls and the clubs all around South Wales. And I just started, and I simply learnt my trade that way, self-taught as it were, and just played and played and played until we got better and better at it. And that's my little story there. I'll talk to you about reading drums and drum lessons on another video. So as I said, give us a thumbs up. I'm just trying to encourage people to talk about the history of their drums. What did you buy? When did you buy it? How old was you? Did your parents buy it? Was it a practice pad first? Was it lessons first? Was it an electric kit first? You let me know. And did you drive everybody mad by playing your drums at 3 a.m. in the morning? Okay, so take care. Speak soon. If you need any parts, if you love these drums, just jump on our website, www.cariaddrumshop.com. It's all in the links below. Get involved with our shop and keep drumming. It's so good for your brain. Take care all. Bye.